Hello, my lovely listeners. Welcome to episode 51 of Keep Blooming. This is your host, Liz Montigny. Today's guest is Kenzie Conner, owner of Kenzie Co. She is a creative designer and youth minister. While working in full-time parish ministry, Kenzie saw a need for a simple prayer journal to invite others into prayer and active participation in the Mass. Kenzie loves anything creative, the Divine Mercy Chaplet, a good organized planner, and dark chocolate. Her passion is not only serving young people, but also ministering to women by leading retreats. So you can imagine we had a lot to cover. In this conversation, Kenzie walks us through her prayer journal, Orandi. Check the show notes for the link to get yours. One common thread that I've seen with all of my clients is the need for dedicated prayer time. And once they commit to that, everything else falls into place. What Kenzie shares with us is that prayer time will look different for everyone, and that's okay. Give yourself permission to show up as you. At least you're showing up, and that's what Jesus wants. I have Kenzie's prayer journal, Orandi, and it's lovely. It would make a thoughtful gift for friends or family. And I think whether you have an established prayer routine or you're trying to build a new habit, the layout is simple and it's thought-provoking. So scroll through the show notes to get yours. A common thread in this podcast conversations that I've been having over the past few months is that my guests are not letting fear of the unknown hold them back. If you're ready to begin the life you only think about, I hope these conversations have inspired you to simply start. And of course, we have more conversations to come. So let's get growing and keep blooming.
Tired of overthinking your next step? Do you want simple steps to level up your mind, body, and spirit? Or maybe you need some inspiration to reach your goal? Then you've tuned into the right podcast. This is Keep Blooming, and I'm your host, Liz Montigny. Each week, I'll encourage you to drop the hustle mentality for hope and act on the dreams God has put on your heart. Like you, I'm doing all the things as a Catholic, a wife, a mom to 3 boys, and a licensed Ziegler coach. So let's get growing and keep blooming. Hello, welcome to Keep Blooming. We have another amazing guest with us on this episode, Kenzie Conner. Kenzie is a creative designer and youth minister. And while working in full-time parish ministry, Kenzie saw a need for a simple prayer journal to invite others into prayer and active participation in Mass. I can't wait to talk to you about that because I'm all about writing things down. So Kenzie loves anything creative, Divine Mercy Chaplet, a good organized planner, and dark chocolate. Yes, thank you. And her passion is not only serving young people, but also ministering to women by leading retreats. And for those of you who have been listening, you know I love retreats too. So we got a lot to talk about, Kenzie.
Yeah, it sounds like we do.
You know, you say creative designer and youth ministry, like how did those two come together, or do they come together?
Oh, yeah. So I think they totally do. I have always been super creative, whether it's like in the kitchen cooking, which I love. I thought I was going to be a pastry chef growing up my whole life, but God had like so much bigger plans. But I love art and design, and it kind of started. I had an internship at the diocese and doing social media and graphic work. And I was like, hey, I could do this. Like, I like this. So obviously that helps me in ministry because, you know, all my young people are on Instagram and, you know, creating reels and social media graphics and posters and all that stuff. But I just really, I like it, and I like it as a ministry almost. So I've dabbled in like the sticker designs. I have a couple of stickers, and then the prayer journal came about because I saw a need for a prayer journal that fit the way that I pray. But then I was also like, this could help other people. And the prayer journal I was buying before was a Protestant prayer journal. It was great, but they went out of business, and I was like, where do I go? What do I do? So I actually had COVID 2 Januaries ago, so I had a lot of time to sit around, and I created my own prayer journal. And then I was like, okay, now what do I do with it? So working with a wonderful business coach, I was in the direct sales industry for a couple of years, and it really fit my needs then. But working with her, just discerning that there are bigger dreams that like God's placed on my heart. And so that's kind of where it stemmed from. So I get to use it in both worlds. I get to use it in youth ministry and like just for fun too.
Yeah, I love how you put that all together, and I have some questions definitely to dive into with what you shared with us. But before we get too far in, for those of you listening, I like to open up our conversations with a scripture passage, and I have been inviting my guests to pick their favorite passage and, just do a little abbreviated Lectio Divina with that. So we're going to do that with Luke 8 verses 43 through 48. And a woman afflicted with hemorrhages for 12 years, who had spent her whole livelihood on doctors and was unable to be cured by anyone, came behind him and touched the tassel of his cloak. Immediately her bleeding stopped. Jesus then asked, "Who touched me?" While all were denying it, Peter said, "Master, the crowds are pushing and pressing in upon you." But Jesus said, "Someone has touched me, for I know that power has gone out from me." When the woman realized that she had not escaped notice, she came forward trembling. Falling down before him, she explained in the presence of all the people why she had touched him and how she had been healed immediately. He said to her, "Daughter, your faith has saved you. Go in peace." If you know the previous story to that, this is like he's healing all sorts of people today in this passage, and this is one, but it's so beautiful. I remember so last year I had the honor of going to the Given Forum, and I was a mentor for young Catholic women in leadership, and this passage came up several times in different ways. And what was so beautiful to me in one of the reflections was just talking about 12 years. 12 years is a long time to be afflicted. And she spent her whole livelihood, which means she literally did everything but go to Jesus. And then here he is. So it's just this is just such a beautiful passage to me for so many reasons. How about you, Kenzie?
Yeah. Oh, I'm obsessed with Luke. I think the way he writes is so cool. But I love this one because it's nestled in between like Little Girl Arise, when he heals the little girl. Like, so like you said, like he's doing so many healings in this. But I love when you really study scripture and the translations, it says like she touched the tassel of his cloak. And in reality, a lot of the translations becomes like she touched like a thread of his garment. Like that's all it takes for that like faith to be healed. And we go to Christ and we ask all these things, like fix these things in my life, or heal my friends of this, or my family, or people struggling with whatever it is. But all you need is like a thread of like faith. And I think that that's such a good reminder.
Yes, absolutely. That's beautiful. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, we'll come back to that later, but you said a few things in your intro. I'm definitely going to talk to you about this journal, but especially with ministering to young people, and I could totally see how your graphic presence and online presence is super important in that area, right?
Yeah.
So in what ways do you think of that graphic piece that that creative part of you? How is that a ministry to others?
Well, I get to share just like the events, right? That like we had Taco Tuesday the other day. So like fun taco stuff with the kids. But I work with a couple of people in their businesses with the graphic work, getting to like help them brand their business and make it their own. And usually they're women of faith, which is so fun because they're like, I want this to be a part of like what I do and what I put out to the world. So you get to reach a bunch of people in a different way. And then one of my clients is a small country church in the middle of like the mountains, and it's like one pastor and the pastor's wife, and I know the pastor's wife really well, and so we get to like create things for their church that's going to help serve them in unique ways, whether they're like connect cards to get information from people, or they did like a fair and they needed posters and info about their upcoming Easter services, stuff like that. And so I think that's just so cool that like in a little way I get to be a part of that and use my creative abilities that like God has gifted me with. And I wouldn't say like I'm the best at it, but I just love doing it and sharing that with others. And then helping women. Like, I think that that's such a gift that we have as women to build each other up and to support each other. And so when I get to meet with clients and brand their business to fit their needs, and then watch them grow, it's so fun.
Yeah, there's such joy in that. And, you know, the fact that, like you said, you're using your gifts, that brings you joy, but you're also helping others to, you know, grow as well. And
Yeah.
I love what you talked about in your intro, just about how, you know, COVID, you're like, hey, what am I doing here? And why don't I make a prayer journal? There are so many stories like that of, hey, what did we use, you know, with that time and where did it take us? You know, I had a similar path in terms of I was in direct sales and then I got into coaching. And I know you mentioned you were using journals, but they weren't quite what you liked. And so
Yeah.
was that solely the inspiration for it, or how did you come to make this journal?
Well, like I said, I had a journal that was gifted to me by a friend, and she's like, I think you would love this. And I was like, I don't prayer journal. Like, at first, I honestly was like, that's so Protestant. I was like, I can't do that, which is so funny because it's not true at all. But she gifted it to me, and I probably let it sit for a while, and then I picked it up, and there was like parts in it of like worship. So I used that for like homily notes, and I was getting so much more out of the mass because I wasn't just like zoning out during the homily. I was actually thinking, okay, how can I take this, like the gospel message, and then go and share it throughout the week? And it helped me just kind of have something to reflect on. And then I took the other parts of the journal, because how it was divided up, of like my prayer time and adoration, like my holy hour. And I personally prayer journal just by writing a letter to God. You know, I started off like, Dear God, here's everything. And the more you do it, I feel like the more it's no longer my words, but it's like his words working through me. Because I write things and I'm like, that didn't come from me because I wasn't thinking that way, right? So it becomes like a conversation with Christ, and then to watch how that goes throughout your whole, like maybe it's a week and it's a busy week and you're struggling, or you're struggling with something going on, or not, or it's like a joyful, like, you know, week of thanks and praises. But like to watch that play out throughout, you know, a couple of weeks, a month, or a year in a journal is really cool. And so I took the inspiration from the prayer journal I was using. The company went out of business and I couldn't purchase anymore. So I was like, now what do I do? And I just kind of was like, I could do this. Like, I can make my own. I'm a strong believer that they're not dated. They don't have like day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, because then I get like super guilty if I'm like, I missed day 4, right? Like, and I even put like a novena tracker in here because I'm so bad at tracking, you know, just 9 days of a novena. I wanted something that was really organic, that anybody could make their own and use in different ways. So that's where that came from.
And I love what you said about the novena tracker. I love novenas, but you're right. You're like, I always like have hash marks on the little card and stuff like that. So I love journaling as well. I'm super simple, and I just I just have a notebook for it. You're right in the sense that once you start spending time with it, how just taking that focused time and letting yourself have that conversation with God. I love how you said you write a letter like, Dear Jesus. I've certainly done that as well. Sometimes it helps you, get going. And it's not only a good way to just get everything out, pen to paper, but as you said, now you can start hearing what God has to say to you. And I think so many times we're so distracted. This world is so loud, both audio, visual, everything. And I'm sure you run into this so many times with your youth ministry. But so I love this practice of prayer journaling. So you say the pages aren't dated. Are there any prompts in there or anything like that?
It's in sections. So you open it up and you get to your homily notes. And I do have if you want to jot down what are the readings, who is the homilist, and then I have a section of prayers to place on the altar, because I think it's so beautiful in the Mass that when the gifts are bringing brought forth, right, that's our time to place our prayers on the altar and our sacrifices. So to have a little spot to jot that down, and usually it's your typical prayers of please heal this person, or we're praying for vocations, or just whatever is on your heart. And then I just have lines, and that's where I kind of write down just my little homily notes, my takeaways, what I hear. And then I have a section that's my prayers. Each page has just a simple Bible verse of something that I've picked out, and so something kind of maybe to think about, but then just blank pages. That's where I write my letters. Then I put a section for prayer requests at the bottom of that, because usually something comes out of that prayer, right? And then a prayer of thanksgiving, dear Lord, what am I thankful for today? And then a living section. And I use that as okay, how can I go and live that today? Whether it's, okay, now I just need to rest in the moment, or maybe I need a couple minutes of silence today, whatever that may look like. So that's a huge section of the prayer journal. And then I have a section of scripture and quotes, which is just small little lines, because I love finding scripture that speaks to me, whether it's doing a Lectio Divina like we just did with the hemorrhaging woman, or quotes of saints, or things that my friends tell me, and I'm that's really profound. I need to keep that for later. I have, which I added to I have my thoughts section, which is your distracted thoughts, because I am such a planner and I am a list maker. I could sit in adoration and think of a list of a million things I need to be doing. And so when I write it down in that distracted thoughts section, then it's just gone and it's out of your mind. So I love that. Then I have a prayer request section, because especially in the work I do, but I think everybody gets all these prayer requests from friends, families, coworkers, whatever it may be. And how often do we forget? And it's always at the end of my prayer, I'm and all the prayer requests I've ever forgotten, please pray for them. But I wanted to see is God working in these prayer requests? So a prayer request, and then who was it asked by, and how did I pray for it? And then I have a section of answered prayers. And it's so fun. I just did one the other day. I prayed for a coworker whose mom was in the hospital, and he came to me and he's she's doing so much better. And I was I can write that in my answered prayers. How cool is that to just watch that in my journal? And then it does have a novena tracker, because I think we all could use a novena tracker. It's only 9 days. It seems so easy, but it's not. Novena tracker is in there, and then how to pray the rosary, and then the mysteries of the rosary and the virtues of the rosary are in there, because my friend was can you please put that in there? And so I took requests and ideas from people. And then the Divine Mercy Chaplet, which is my go-to. I pray that at 3:00 almost every day, when it's available. So Divine Mercy Chaplet is in there. And then I have a forgiveness section, which includes your daily examen, the act of contrition, and you can track your date of your last confession. I wanted it all in one place.
And I think you nailed it. I love this. So there's so much in there, and thanks for explaining that, so people know what's in there. And I love how it sounds like it really helps you focus on being present in Mass, which I do think is something we could all be better at. So I think that's excellent exercise. And in that living section, it's one thing, to go to mass and to say our prayers, but okay, so what does that mean when I go out into the world? Helping people with their prayer life is so powerful. I have seen that with my own coaching clients, once they start to build or strengthen their spiritual life, other things open up.
Well, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So along those lines, whether it's you or someone using this journal, how would you say this has changed or transformed what you were doing, but now you're using this journal, and how has it enhanced your life?
It keeps me focused, like on that, because I have to write something down, right? I still use a paper calendar or a paper planner, right? And I love my list. And so I think just to have something written, it keeps me on track. And not that I'm not praying throughout my day. I like to just kind of pray whenever you need it. But I think just to see it like written down. And also, I mean, I've had friends that have started to use this, and then they come to me and they're like, I get to watch my prayer come to life in a sense. Not that it isn't living, because this is a relationship. Like, it's like if you didn't talk to your best friend, right? When you're talking to Christ, like through prayer, it'd be kind of boring. The relationship would fall flat, right? And so they get to see it come to life. But I've had a friend with young kids, and she's like, mass can be so distracting. I'm constantly wrangling little ones, but I've been using this prayer journal at mass, and now her daughter wants one because she sees mom using it, right? And she's like, oh, that's a way that you can pray. I have some of my students, my high school girls especially, they'll use it. And it was so cool. I had like 4 of them using it at the Steubenville Youth Conferences this summer. And I was like, that's so cool that I just get to be able to help them with that and learn just a different way to pray. I'm all about teaching them a different way to pray.
Yeah. And I think that's super important, because sometimes we get stuck thinking it has to be a certain way, or, we don't realize, oh, this is in fact a relationship. It's going to change over time. And something that you mentioned is the prayer request section too. And I love that you have that in there, because I do that too. I write down, people ask me to pray for them. I'll write that down as an intention. And it's so beautiful to look at that later and be like, oh, what's the progress on these? And I think that's a really great way to see, especially if you're feeling stuck, or maybe you're feeling like, is God listening to me? To go back and look at those and be like, wow, he answered these prayers, and look at this one. This was a really hard one. And that's amazing. So I think it can really lift your trust and your joy to keep track of that. And just the whole act, I've talked in the podcast before about the whole act of, physically writing things down, just the physical act of writing things down helps, embed it in your brain a bit more. And just, I've always talked about Dr. Caroline Leaf, how she talks about writing things down and how that can unclutter your mind. And so there's just so many benefits to it. So thank you for sharing that. What would you say is maybe like a myth or a misunderstanding about prayer journaling?
I think I was talking to a student about this, that it has to be like perfect, right? That, what we write has to be perfect. And I told her, I was like, there's been times where I've sat in adoration and I just need to be in silence, with Christ. And there's been times where I'll start a letter and it'll be, Dear God, and I think I have all these things in my heart that I need to say, but it just ends up being like, this is all I have today. This is it. Like, it's just me here with you, and this is all I have to give. And so it can be whatever you want it to be, and it doesn't have to look like everybody else's, right? And I talked to a ton of people that they're like, oh, I like to like journal after mass or write in a notebook, keep notes. And I'm like, you're prayer journaling. And they don't even know that they're doing it, right? So I think that, yeah, that it doesn't have to be perfect. And God doesn't expect that of us. He doesn't expect perfection. He just wants us and all that we have. So
Most of the time it's just about showing up. I mean, going to
Yeah.
adoration is huge because there's not many people going to adoration. So if you're actually
yeah.
I mean, that's amazing. So yeah, and I love this sense of not being perfect. I feel as though, that idea of I'm not going to do it unless it's perfect is just another form of fear and procrastination,
Yeah.
because no one ever did anything and had it be perfect. If that was the case, I mean, we wouldn't be here. I mean, it's just, it's so this sense of just try it.
Yeah.
And I love, and it, I kind of heard that too in just your journey of creating this journal was, okay, the thing I want is gone. Could I do this? Yeah. Do I have the skills? Yeah. Well, I could do this. And you just did, and here's what came of it. So, there's so many people out there, including myself, that I feel like the only one holding you back is you, honestly.
For sure. Yeah.
And I think God is just asking for that little step out in faith. Just try something. It doesn't mean that you have to know everything or how it's all going to work out, but you have to make a choice. And he's waiting for you to make that choice. So what is the journal called?
It's Orandi. It's just prayer in Latin. So yeah, I just wanted to keep it so simple. And then I have this like super kind of like girly feminine journal. And then I have all these guys that are like, where's our journal? And so I'm working, the manly version or whatever you want to call it is in the works. And that will be more of a like sage green, like really focusing on St. Joseph. So that will be coming up next. Hopefully soon. I'll get that one out too.
That's fantastic.
And it's not like I got it printed, and actually some of my friends got it printed through Amazon before I even received it, like the physical, my copy. And I was like, that is terrifying, but also super cool. And it's not perfect. So there'll be revisions, and I have hopes and dreams of putting in like tabs and making it spiral bound. But this is where I'm starting and just going from there. And it's so exciting to watch it grow and hopefully it will.
Yeah, I love what you said there. This is how it begins. This is what I'm starting with. And we all have to do that. We have to start somewhere, with whatever dream or goal it is. You got to give it some time and at least, see what comes of it. Of that, you're going to have one for the guys. So before we hear all about you, how to get this journal, all the good things, I want us to come back to our scripture passage. And again, friends, that is Luke chapter 8, verses 43 through 48. And a woman afflicted with hemorrhages for 12 years, who had spent her whole livelihood on doctors and was able to be cured by anyone, came up behind him and touched the tassel on his cloak. Immediately her bleeding stopped. Jesus then asked, "Who touched me?" While all were denying it, Peter said, "Master, the crowds are pushing and pressing in upon you." But Jesus said, "Someone has touched me, for I know that power has gone out from me." When the woman realized that she had not escaped notice, she came forward trembling, falling down before him. She explained in the presence of all the people why she had touched him and how she had been healed immediately. He said to her, "Daughter, your faith has saved you. Go in peace." In our conversation, Kenzie, I feel like a lot of what your journal is about is that conversation with God. And in this passage, I just hear about the immediacy of his healing and how all she did, she just had faith and she reached out and look what happened. And I feel like, in a sense, you could take this journal to adoration and just lay it all out there and see what he does. Let him work. Let him do the work.
Amen.
Yeah.
I love that.
Well, Kenzie, how do we get in touch with you? If we want to get our hands on this journal, what do we do?
Yes. So I'm very basic right now. My website is in the works, but I am on Instagram. That is like the best place to follow me. It's kenzieco, KENZIE, co.studio, just like a graphic design studio. But on there has my link tree. If you want to work with me through freelance graphic design, you can sign up there. If you want to buy the prayer journal, my link on Amazon's there. I share a couple of other things I really love, like some of my favorite inspirational home decor, things like that. And my sticker collection is on there. And also, I guess it'll be after this airs, but I am leading a pilgrimage to Krakow and Poland too for young people. So I'm sure there'll be more in the future. And there's a lot of things happening with KenzieCo.
There is. That is so exciting. Yes, this will air after that, but I'm sure you'll have definitely go check out Kenzie's Instagram so you can see about all that and get on her list for future pilgrimages and stickers. I love stickers. I'm gonna go look at those. But yeah, so friends, this is all in the show notes. So hop over there so you can get what you need and follow Kenzie. It sounds like you're doing a lot of joyful work and it looks great. So thanks for sharing all this and helping us to find just creative ways to have that relationship with Jesus. It's okay to do it differently. Yeah.
It is. Yes.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again, Kenzie.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Liz.
All right. Let's get growing and keep blooming. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Keep Blooming. Tune in every Wednesday for a dose of hope and encouragement. To be the first to know about my upcoming retreats and latest offerings, become an email subscriber at lizmontignycoaching.com. Have a wonderful week and remember to keep blooming.